Howdy, howdy, y'all. It is another I Am That episode. Chapter 93. 93. Man is not the doer. Man is not the doer. Essentially, we are not, we are not the body. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am beyond all of this. I am beyond space and time. That's essentially what the idea of this chapter is. Even Maharaj says, yeah. Well, before I start all that, I would just want to say, off the bat, one of the things I would say is this is one of these questioners I feel very much a sort of solidarity with, just with the way they're talking, with the sort of questions they ask. This was one of those questioners where I never felt like, oh man, that's a dumb question. So there's been a few questioners a few times. I'm like, what's going on here? But with this individual, no. This individual said some really just stuff I feel to myself just from the get go, from the very first thing. So they say right away, just the first thing in this whole chapter. From the beginning of my life, I have been pursued by a sense of incompleteness. From school to college to work to marriage to affluence, I imagined that the next thing would surely give me peace. But there is no peace. This sense of unfulfillment keeps on going as years pass by. And what's funny is, despite, I mean, I haven't experienced many of those things, marriage and affluence and things of these nature, but still, like, yeah, like, as you complete these roles, like, these very art, you always feel there is a certain, I've felt that since a child, since, as I can always remember, this always sense of, like, oh man, the next thing, I'm gonna do this next thing, this next thing, then so, just, Nisargadatta Maharaj, or the questioner, is just addressing this, just right off the bat. I was like, whoa. Sure. But then the way Nisargadatta Maharaj, responds to it, of course, as long as there is the body and a sense of identity with the body, frustration is inevitable. Only when you know yourself as entirely alien and to and different from the body, you will find respite from the mixture of fear and craving inseparable from the I am body idea. Merely asserting fears and satisfying desires will not remove the sense of emptiness you are trying to escape from. Only self knowledge can help you. By self knowledge, I mean full knowledge of what you are not. Such knowledge is attainable and final. But to discover what but discovery of what you are, there can be no end. The more you discover, the more there remains to discover. So, which is pretty deep, right? That's like, especially that last part. It's like the more you discover, the more there is to discover. It's this endless process, and so it's like, yes, you can, once you get, you get out of this distinction that has been getting at you for years, your entire life. This, craving of always wanting more, wanting more. The way to put that at rest is to realize you are not this body. And then once you are no longer in this body, there's this whole other journey to go about that's essentially endless. That's endless. Um, I do like this a statement. A couple statements after this. The questioner says, "It is truth I seek, not peace," which I kind of relate to that because, like, yeah, I love peace. I want peace, but ultimately, you want truth, right? Because if you have peace at the expense of a lie, then that's just a fragile peace that's just meaningless, essentially. Doesn't and it's just going to inevitably go away anyways. And Maharaj addresses that statement perfectly because I think, yeah, I agree with it. You cannot see true unless you are at peace. A quiet mind is essential for right perception, which again is required for self realization. So it's like, that's a good way of dispensing with, would you rather the peace versus truth, and it makes sense essentially that they would really be, in order to see truth, to understand truth, it can't have a whole circuits, it can't have a whole bunch of nonsense going up here, right? So it has to be that you definitely have to have a mind that's at peace. Of course, easier said than done though. right? But anyway, so like I said, this chapter is very heavy. I like this chapter though. This is a very good chapter for if you want to show someone like kind of Maharaj's Nisargadatta Maharaj's a little bit him kind of being much more direct and much more just like I say, there's an intensity in his words. There's almost like an intensity in all of this. At least I think so. I know at one point, um, the questioner says, no, the Maharaj says, freedom. Freedom is freedom from worry. Having realized that you cannot influence the results, pay no attention to your desires and fears. Let them come and go. Don't give them the nourishment of interest and attention. So he's just like, and this is, I think, a little different than what people always think of when they do think of these sort of teachings. Because I think a lot of times they think, oh, we must get rid of our fears. We must get rid of our desires. Oh, these things are going to exist. You just got to don't give them the light of day. It's either you be a slave to them, or you be free from them. And that freedom, the way you achieve that freedom, like it says, is freedom from the worry of them. And the way you don't worry about them is you don't give them that attention, because that attention, and we even talk about this later in here. That's the key. That's the key. Yeah, the questioner at one point here he says you are reducing sadhana to simple attention. How is it that other teachers can teach complete, difficult, and time-consuming courses? Maharaj, the gurus usually teach sadhanas by which they themselves have reached their goal. Whatever their goal may be, this is but natural. For their own sadhana, they know intimately. I was taught to give attention to my sense of I am, and I found it supremely effective. Therefore, I can speak of it with full confidence. But other people come with their bodies, brain, and mind so mishandled, perverted, and weak that the state of formless attention is beyond them. In such cases, some simpler token of earnestness is appropriate. The repetition of a mantra or gazing at a picture will prepare their body and mind for a deeper and more direct search. After all, it is earnestness that is indispensable. The crucial factor, sadhana, is only a vessel in which must be filled to the brim with earnestness, which is but love in action. For nothing can be done without love. So that first of all, that was a good question. I think the questioner asked, especially because a lot it kind of does sound like that a lot of times when you hear Maharaj talk. He's kind of almost reduced. It does feel or sound like he's reducing it down to it's just about giving your attention. What are you giving your attention to? And I do like his response. This is a reasonable response, and it's true. And it's almost in a way, it's kind of a little bit of a ding, because he's kind of saying oh, my practice is it's the ultimate practice, or it's the best practice, at least in my opinion. But he's only saying that because this is what's worked for me. And he acknowledges and respects that, yeah, these other people, their gurus taught them these different things, and that's what works for them. So there is that kind of respect, mutual respect, and I think, and that's typically how, from my understanding, how it's supposed to go, especially with these different schools of thought. That's typically how they treat this. And I would say definitely repetition of mantras are very, very, very effective. They definitely are. So I would recommend a mantra any day, personally. I think there's nothing wrong with it, And I don't think he doesn't think there's anything wrong with this either. I want to think. I think he would be happy that such a mind, that even though it's not quite there yet, ready for that formless form that he was talking about, formless attention. That he was talking about. It's okay, because the fruits need to ripen, as he had talked about before in the previous chapters. Now, let's see. Okay, and then once again, the questioner later on, he said, "Yeah, I do not understand why the various gurus insist on prescribing complicated, difficult sadhanas. Don't they know better?" And Maharaj then kind of gives this, more, another. It's not what you do, but what you stop doing that matters. The people who begin their sadhana are so feverish and restless they have to be very busy to keep themselves on track. An absorbing routine is good for them. After some time, they quiet down and turn away from effort. In peace and silence, the skin of I dissolves, and the inner and outer become one. The real sadhana is effortless. Yeah, so like I said, I'm sorry. I mean, even rereading these words is just you just kind of get hit with it. So, like I said, this is a really good chapter. They're all really good, but there's a certain intensity with this one. I don't know if it's because of the timing of me when I'm reading it or whatever, but it's hitting me, and obviously nothing too great. I mean, let's see. Is there anything I want to add here? Yeah. Okay. So the questioner, last question. What difference will it make in action that what I take myself to be? Actions just happen according to circumstances. Maharaj. Circumstances and condition rule the ignorant. The knower of reality is not compelled. The only law he obeys is that of love. So once again, and this is something I've been personally striving for as well. It's not, and which is he's saying, don't let other whatever the nonsense of the world get in here and get to you, because ultimately you are the world. You are beyond the world. You are beyond space and time. You are beyond all. You are even beyond infinite itself. So yeah, you're definitely not the body. That's the very least of what you're not. And so I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah. I don't think I'll leave it at that. It's chapter 93. Man is not the doer. I hope you all have a lovely day. I hope we have a lovely time wherever you are. And peace be upon you all. Hare Krishna. Namaste. Peace.